Um, uh, Thank you for recording. Share some important updates and previews with this group that we hold so dear. So we'll move right into housekeeping. This is the standard kind of agreements that we all make with one another. As you just heard, the meeting is being recorded and will be posted on the website. We encourage folks, especially if you're if you're a representative of a broader organization, to share this link with the members of your organization so they can stay tuned and hear as much of it as they wish to. Please make sure you are on mute unless you are speaking. That's always helpful to keep us focused. Leave your camera on if possible. We don't get to spend too much time together, and so it's lovely to see your faces when we are. If you could rename yourself and add your organization in your little Zoom Brady Bunch box, that helps us with keeping track of attendance. And then we want to lean in and step out as needed. So participate, be engaged, but monitor your airtime and make sure that we're providing space for everyone to contribute. With that, I will just kind of walk through our agenda today. I think I did an awesome job with the welcome. We're already knocking this out of the park. We are going to quickly talk through 228 adoption and some next steps related to that. We'll talk about 231 and 229. We're also going to share a Reading Academies for EPPs update that's exciting. We'll preview the SBEC board meeting on April 26th and then address questions as we are able to. Any questions that we're not able to answer, we certainly will circle back with you as soon as we have a good answer for those questions. But without further ado, I will pass the mic to the lovely Marilyn Cook, who will talk through the 228 adoption and associated next steps. Glad to be here, everybody. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Emily, for the always fantastic welcome. It is great to see all of you folks and your bright, shiny faces. We always appreciate these opportunities to be with us. I have but just a few slides on the Chapter 228 adoption. We find ourselves at an interesting point timing-wise for this meeting, so it gives us a little bit of opportunity. But as you all know, the SBEC supported us in adoption of the Chapter 228 rules at the February 2024 meeting. So we're getting into the home stretch here, and next up will be our opportunity to present these rules at the upcoming SBOE meetings. They are meeting April the 9th through the 12th. So we're looking forward to that opportunity. And then following that meeting, the 228 new rules are slated to be effective September 1 of 2024. As I go on to the next slide, we wanted to share a couple of things in terms of, you all will remember throughout our conversations about 228, and as we got closer to the board taking action, everyone in this group and our other opportunities to work with our important stakeholders has emphasized the importance of additional supports and training materials and things that we can utilize as a team to effectively implement these new rules. Commissioner Morath did have an opportunity already to have, he used his March 21st monthly call with superintendents to spend some time talking about the new Chapter 228 rules. So we were appreciative of that support there with getting some of the word out to districts. And then, as you all know, I'm doing the 228, a few quick slides this morning to help Lori Ayers save her melodic pipes. She will be doing our first EPP webinar on the 228 rules later this afternoon from 1 to 2 p.m. So we're excited about that. And then we also have an upcoming webinar on the 228 rules specific for our district colleagues scheduled for Wednesday, April the 3rd. One thing that's important to note throughout our conversations with the board, we also, and the board as well, emphasize the importance of us working together as a team to implement these rules and to continue to look for opportunities where we can continue developing materials, compiling frequently asked questions, documents, and continuing to stay in constant ongoing communication with you fine folks throughout this process. So it is going to be a team effort. We're excited about the opportunity, and as more information becomes available that we can share, we will certainly be sharing that information with all of you. My very last slide is a selfish opportunity as you're listening to the rest of my wonderful colleagues present. If you have some additional thoughts on training needs related to the new Chapter 228 rules, we are all ears. You're welcome to drop those things into the chat throughout this meeting time today. And of course, reach out to us separate from a meeting. We're always available and open. I wanted to, on this slide though, there are a couple of things that we have started thinking about internally as a team and have pulled together, and excited also about some additional in the future opportunities to focus in on particular aspects of the 228 rules, where we can spend more quality time together talking about the implementation and the effective use of the new rules. So my question as I close out and get ready to transition to the next fabulous speaker would be, as you're thinking about 228 and continuing to think about it, if there are additional training needs that come to mind for you, we'd love to hear from you and things that you think would be effective. And again, I think it's important to always say thank you to this team for the ongoing partnership and the feedback that you continue to so freely share with us. We are grateful beyond measure for everything that you continue to do to be of help and support to us in this work. And with that, believe it or not, I am brief this morning, which is unusually brief for me, but I will close out and put myself in a vocal timeout for now and pass it on to the next wonderful person who's going to be talking about Chapter 231. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Marilyn. Always a hard act to follow. Good morning, everyone. I'm happy to provide an update here related to our Chapter 231 discussion. If we can go to the next slide. So in terms of an update, y'all, since December, our team has been engaged with stakeholders to develop what we call a Texas Core Content Area Competency Worksheet for special education teachers. This is aligned to some proposed amendments to the Chapter 231 rule text related to special education assignments, which really seeks to address the current rule text that you see in blue, aligned to what many of us know or refer to as the House provision. Excuse me. So as I shared, again, we've been engaged in extensive stakeholder engagement to really think about how to support the field in these amended or proposed changes to the rule text. In January, we started that engagement and developed some very early drafts with that worksheet. And then in February, we had the opportunity to present a discussion item around 231 to our SBEC, and captured some important SBEC questions to consider while continuing to develop drafts of this core competency worksheet. This month, we've continued conversations with our stakeholders really around what was the outcome of the February SBEC meeting, and then inputting those comments and feedbacks and revisions all into additional drafts of the worksheet. In April, we do plan hopefully to return to the SBEC with a discussion item related to these rule changes that will align to updates related to the stakeholder engagement that we've engaged in this month, and then hopefully discuss some progress around the development of that worksheet. All of that to say, we still have a very long runway to go here, but we're really excited and proud of the work that we've been doing with our stakeholders to ensure that this is right for our teachers and right for our kids. Similar to Marilyn, I am brief, and I will hand it over to the next speaker.
Oh, before you do, DeMarco.
Hi, Holly. Good morning.
Hi. I guess my question is, I'm on the EPSG Special Pops Working Group, and so been involved in these deliberations, and it's a little unusual to have a slide that says you may come back with a discussion item. So I guess I'm wondering, I know that we're, maybe talking about having a couple more stakeholder meetings, but could you speak to what may or what would kind of determine whether this would come back as a discussion item?
DeMarco, I can jump in here. I have Chair Streepy sets the agenda for the meetings, and she has not finalized the agenda for this meeting, so we don't want to get ahead of her process, and so we have this as tentative pending her approval of the agenda.
Okay, so there's nothing more to it than that. It's not that there might be some other hurdle that has to be, or some anticipation of some other hurdle that might be prevent it from coming forward.
barring Chair Streepy not putting it on the agenda, we will have an item on there as an update. I don't want to ask staff to commit to how extensive the update will be or action oriented it will be. But we will provide, the board will want, and the field will want an update, which we will provide. We're just pending her approval of the agenda.
Gotcha.
Sorry
Thank
for
you.
interrupting, DeMarco.
So I was doing dramatic pause because Dr. Olafson is in another meeting right now. So I was scrolling through to make sure he's not here. Believe it or not, he trusted me to do his slide, largely because I won't get into too much trouble and I'm not having to do any data calculations, thank God, this morning in this meeting in front of you all. But he will have an opportunity to have a discussion item on the Chapter 229 rules. And this slide sort of speaks for itself, but one of the things that we are excited about is he is going to introduce a conversation with the board about breaking the Chapter 229 rules into subchapters, similar to some of our other rules. I think this will facilitate future rulemaking when we have one specific section rather than having to open up the entire chapter at times. And you guys have heard our spiel a couple of times now as we've been through the rulemaking process for 228 and 230. 229 is an important partner in the work that we're doing with 228. So we're going to be looking for opportunities to begin the conversations for how 229 needs to be refreshed to align with the proposed changes in the new 228 rules. Mark will speak more eloquently than I ever could about the student growth indicator updates there. And again, we're getting real scary for me to talk about shifts and negative weights in the index system, but he wanted to be sure to have this slide here for you all to sort of see the highlights of the discussion and the conversation that he'll be having with the board at the end of next month. And then there's usually the standard always opportunity to take a look at that ACEP manual and refresh to make any necessary updates and add clarifying language. It is highly possible that Dr. Olafson may be able to join us a little bit later. So if you have some profound questions for him, he may be here later to engage those. But again, I think the big reminder for you all is this will just be discussion at the April meeting with the board and great opportunities to have you ask additional questions and offer feedback as that work continues. Yes, ma'am, Holly Eaton.
I can't find my hand to raise.
I can see your beautiful hand right there in the box though, so that's
I
no
raised
worries.
this one. And yes, I don't want to cause you undue stress, Marilyn. Certainly that would not be my desire at all. So I do have a question, and I'll save it for Mark about what, or unless anyone knows what it means when it says on the student growth indicator necessary because underlying data sources changed. I'm real curious about that. So
I wrote it down for you, Holly, in case he doesn't break from his meeting. I did write that down to let him know you had that question because I am not equipped to answer that one. And it's a perfectly great question. I'll make sure we get follow-up for you on that piece.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Hey y'all, it is me. I am super excited to bring y'all some updates about our reading academies for our ed prep programs. And I just want to be on the record saying our ed prep programs have really knocked this out of the park. We started with a 10-team pilot. And as you may know, we recently opened an application for any of our ed prep programs that were interested in becoming authorized providers. I'm happy to announce that we had 24 of our ed prep programs apply to be self-sufficient authorized providers, which means that they would be able to not only get their teacher candidates through reading academies before they graduate, that they're also working on being able to integrate some reading academy into their coursework and getting really innovative with how they are providing our candidates and our pre-service teachers with reading academies. And then just to mention that this is at no additional cost to the candidates. And so we will continue to work with this group. that are now approved as authorized providers is we have another planning year/year of being able to get candidates through reading academies at the prep level. Once everything is approved, I will be happy to provide y'all with an updated list so you'll know which EPPs are participating. And we hope to be able to open this application up again in the near future. And those are all the updates I have for reading academies at this time.
Okay, I'm going to jump back in here.
Oh, she froze for a minute, so this is gonna be like the SPEC Academy Awards, and then she goes off camera and she's gonna come back. So I'm gonna do filler for a minute and then just really talk really slow to go. Purpose of this slide, as Emily was saying seconds ago, we are hot and heavy in the process of getting the agenda rather finalized by Chair Streepy. But in this case, a couple of the items that the staff's been working on are kind of highlighted here. We only have one adoption item for the Chapter 227 admission requirements and several action items. Lori will be presenting again to the board the final round of EPPs who have gone through the process of completing their 5-year reviews. And then we've got some additional EPP related business with an agreed order for one of our ed prep programs, Lone Star College, that we're currently in the process of working through. And we'll have that for conversation with the board. She comes back, Emily Garcia. I stretched it like the SPEC Oscars. So I'm just going to finish the action items, and then if your melodic voice wants to come on here and bring it on home, I will be quiet. We've got another item on the SPEC BOP and the memorandum of agreement that we're going to be talking through as well. Emily, I can pause now and you could do the exciting proposal and discussion items if you want. Uh-oh, and now you're on mute. Okay, see, this is technology and Jesus causing me to go use your voice, Marilyn, and finish on. So I'm gonna finish on and then you may be ready at the end of this. We've got a couple of proposal items. There are 3 4-year rule reviews, and you guys, you fine folks have been doing this with us for a long time. So you know all of our SPEC rules have that opportunity to shine with getting their rules reviewed and making sure that we get public feedback on, is it important for us to continue to have these? We wanted to highlight these largely because in your worlds of work, if there is anything related to the Chapter 231 assignment rules that you've been dying to tell us and have been holding back, possibly the Chapter 234 rules are related to all things military. And you know that we were just at the SBOE and presented the last round of changes that were all legislatively driven. Those rules became effective March 7th, but we also wanted to take an opportunity as soon as possible to get the 4-year rule review opened so we can look at perhaps opportunities to reorganize that chapter and make it a little easier to find the provisions that are specific to each member of the military community. I've been doing this for a long time, and it looks like every legislative session there is going to be a bill or something related to our members of the military. So this may be a wonderful opportunity to kind of look at ways to improve that short rule chapter to make it even easier for folks to be able to read and access the necessary information. And then Chapter 245 are our rules on individuals who are transferring to Texas from another country who may be already licensed. So that's going to be the purpose of the rule review. They will likely be on the consent agenda, but I wanted to mention them here today, just largely
Now can you hear me?
because if that, yes, you sound
I'm back.
beautiful. And
I'm
you
gonna
know
tell
what?
y'all, my husband bought me a new fancy like ear thingy. He tells me I look like Janet Jackson. I should not have tried it for the first time on this call. I apologize. And Marilyn, thank you so much for catching me. I really, really appreciate it. I know I can always count on you.
It's not a problem. And you sounded so good. I'm going to mute so you can finish off discussion so we can hear you. You sound like you're in each of our rooms with us.
I took it off.
So
I just went back to the old school. So bye bye,
okay,
Janet.
this is good. I'm gonna let you do discussion. I'm gonna be quiet.
Oh, thanks. Okay, so Chapter 230B, this is a continuation of the conversation we're having around English language proficiency. Really appreciate the feedback that we got from the field in the last meeting, the direction we got from the board, and we intend to continue engaging stakeholders and the board as we look to make sure we're meeting the needs both of our districts who are really having a struggle filling these positions and making sure we're getting candidates in those roles who have demonstrated the necessary English language proficiency without it being more difficult than it needs to be. Chapter 249, this is one that I wanted to take a moment to talk through briefly. We are going to be opening chapter 249 for for just an overall update and review. This is our disciplinary proceedings section and contested case chapter. So look forward to setting up an EPSG meeting or a sub-working group meeting, likely specific to chapter 49 work, but we want to bring it to the board first just to share directionally what's included, what we've been experiencing as we implement these rules over the last few years, and where we think there are some opportunities to make some updates to support the field with clarity. So more to come on that, but that is an item I would pay particular attention to as it's something I think we'll share the timeline at the board meeting, but I think it's going to be a focus of the board for the next several meetings. Holly?
Thank you. I figured out how to raise my hand. It wasn't there before, I promise you. The technology is not my friend either. On the disciplinary proceedings, chapter 249.
Yep.
Is there, when you were talking about a subgroup or a stakeholder group, are you looking at, because I know before when these rules have undergone review and revision, there's been a stakeholder group, and I think, God, out of sight, out of mind. Laura Moriarty was in charge of that at the time, and it involved a lot of folks who were practitioners as well as attorneys in school law. And so I just wondered, I didn't know if you were talking about an EPSG subgroup in particular or possibly an external.
One of the pieces of the presentation of this item in April will be a stakeholder engagement plan that we'll get feedback from the board on if there's other folks we want to engage. But if you remember all the teams we engaged when we did the July work session, when we talked about contract abandonment specifically, we'd be going back to that group. It will be a similar effort to get all the affected persons represented, but this is not going to be a quick pass through the chapter where we make a couple of tweaks and move on. So I think part of what we want to present to the board in April is a stakeholder engagement plan, just to make it transparent to the board and to the field. This is something that we do need all the great minds around the table to talk through updates that might be needed. We have a small list of things that we've encountered in the last few years where we think there could be more clarity. But I also would anticipate that the field is going to come to us and say, here are some things that are less clear, some definitions that need to be added or clarified or tightened up or loosened up. So it's going to be a full 360-degree opportunity for folks to participate. Holly, I would expect you to be at that table.
I was hoping not, but maybe so. I think someone from our legal staff actually participated in the last one. Yeah.
I think that's perfect, but we will want TCTA. We will want the large orgs rep. I mean, we want this to be as transparent and collaborative as possible. And so that will be one of the key parts of the presentation to the board is the stakeholder engagement plan and a timeline. I don't see any questions in the chat, but I might be missing them because I'm scrolling real fast and I was off there for a second. But if we have any questions, anyone wants to come off mute, you're welcome to do that. Otherwise, staff and I will hang around for a few minutes. If anyone wants to stay on and ask a question in a smaller venue, we will be here for the next few minutes. Thanks everybody for your time today. We hope we see you either at SBOE next week or SBEC at the end of the month. Take great care and enjoy the blue skies today. And happy Easter.
I have a quick question. Good morning. How are you guys?
Hey, Carrie, how are you?
I'm good. Good to see everyone. Is there, I didn't see it on the agenda. Are we expecting any discussion of the RFP process for the TPA to resurface in April or soon?
That is a good question. I don't know the answer to that.
Hi, Carrie.
Hey, Jessica.
Is that Jessica? What are you doing on this call?
Sorry, y'all. I'm technically out sick today, but you all know me. I had to come and secretly hide in the back of the EPSG meeting. Carrie,
Right, that's the sort of, that's the benefit and the detriment to the Zoom world, isn't it?
it is.
We
But y'all,
are
Jessica
we're
is like
able to
sick.
participate and can't get away at the same time.
You know she's sick if she's off camera. So Jessica, I will give you like 30 seconds and then I'm kicking you out of this Zoom room.
No, I will jump right off. But Carrie, we do anticipate having a discussion item just to bring back to the board some early thoughts around potential next steps related to the development of a text TPA, given the update that we provided to the board at the last meeting. So there will be that we do anticipate, again, pending Chair Streepy's approval, an item on the board on the agenda that will discuss text TPA next steps.
In April.
Yes,
Okay, super. All right, thank you so much.
absolutely.
And she was sick too. So, yeah, I think she was sick or sick.
Okay, y'all, wait time was never my strength. If no one else has a big question or a burning question or something they don't want to ask individually, then we will see y'all soon. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, team. Great job.